Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome to our Morning Throners podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
Welcome back to another episode of Morning Throners podcast. We are here talking Bran 5.
Yep.
And I'm just shooting from the hip because that was awesome. And it's a cool ep. I actually like this episode or this chapter better than the ep or the scene in the show. I think there's a little bit more detail, a little bit more conversation, and I think it just allows for a cooler scene setup. And
there's more killing.
More
Isn't there
killing.
Only like 3 of them in the show.
Rob, yeah, it's only 3. Rob only kills like one of them, obviously.
I think Rob only kills one of them.
Because Theon kills one, and then Osha's left.
So
But,
the dogs don't
skipping
kill
too
anybody?
far ahead.
The direwolves don't kill anybody?
The dogs
definitely
aren't
kill
even
two.
in. They're not even in the scene in the show.
They're like
That's
the
true.
main part of this scene.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're not even in the show scene.
Again, I haven't gone back and taken a complete body count, but right now they're in second place behind Jory.
The
And Jory's
direwolves.
dead, so
Yeah, they're tied for second place.
That's too funny.
And Jory's body count is definitely not going up from here.
So we start off, and the whole premise of this chapter is about Bran being able to ride again. So it's about his saddle being ready to go. His horse has been trained to listen to his voice and the reins, and so everything's ready. Everything's ready for him to go outside of the walls of Winterfell and ride.
Little
like he always
normalization
wanted
there.
to.
Yeah.
He's no longer a direwolf pup.
It says he's been practicing with his new horse for like weeks, but just like in circles in the yard stuff. So, but this is the first time that he actually gets to like leave the castle.
Yeah.
Like since his fall, I guess.
We got a
Yeah.
nice little squad with us. We got Rob, Theon, a couple
Lewin.
guardsmen,
Maester
and
Lewin.
Maester Lewin riding a donkey behind.
Yeah.
Because he wants to keep an eye on Bran in case something happens to him. Yeah, and they're just going out for a nice little ride. Theon's bringing a crossbow so he can hunt while he's out there, and they start trotting, and then I think the cooler part about this chapter than in the show scene is that him and Rob get a little race going on, and they start
Well,
pulling
before
away.
that, they go through Wintertown, right?
Yeah.
When they
Yeah,
first
yeah,
leave
yeah.
Winterfell, there's like that town that's like built up against the castle walls.
It's like a market, right?
Yeah, and all the people.
Well, they
Wait,
go
are the
through a
people
market.
afraid of the wolves at this point, right?
A couple of them are terrified. A couple of them have seen them and are kind of used to them. But they're expecting, because the winter's coming, that this place is going to be filled. I guess everybody leaves their holdfast and comes to this winter town to live
It
during
kind
the
of parallels Vase Dothrak as well in that sense. Like this, they
yeah,
built
how
this
it's like kind of
giant
bigger.
place that can hold everybody, but not everybody's always there.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Vase Dothrak, it seems like they kind of just, not that they rely on people not being there, but they don't really expect them to all ever be there at once. Whereas this is like, okay, we know our max capacity. During the summertime, everyone's got to be out in the field getting food for wintertime. But in wintertime, everyone is going to be here no matter what. Like, it seems like there's no point in Vase Dothrak when they're like, everyone is going to be here.
Isn't
right now.
everybody going to be in Vase Dothrak during winter for them, right? Like,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
that
I
kind of
guess.
what they were saying? Like,
I guess true. Did they say that in the Danny chapter? I didn't think about
They
that.
say in a worst case scenario, it can fill everyone in.
yeah, there's going to be a time eventually, a prophecy, right? Wasn't that how it was?
Okay.
That there would be a time when every Dothraki tribe had to be there. So, I mean, isn't that kind of winter? Isn't that used?
I didn't think they said that. I thought they just said that it was made so that it could fit anybody. I didn't think they said that.
It was like, in
for any
case something
reason.
happens, everyون can fit
What,
in
there wasn't some sort of
Kyle, I like your
prophecy?
parallel there. Good catch, good catch.
There wasn't a prophecy on that?
There might have been. I
Yeah,
don't
I think it was a
remember.
prophecy or something. I think you're right, Kyle.
I thought it just said. Jorah just told Danny that like.
I don't remember a prophecy, but I think they were preparing just in case. It was just in case type of deal. I don't know if there was an actual.
I thought Danny was just like, oh, it's so empty, and Jorah was like, Vase Dothrak is made large enough so that it can house all the Khalazars at once.
I mean, I guess in a
But he
sense,
didn't say like for a reason.
Vase
maybe he
Dothrak
did.
is their home. I mean, this
Let's
is
see.
where their gods are. It's kind of like their temple. So I feel like if there was a place that you'd want to bunker down, like that would be the place. And like every Dothraki has the right to go there. Kind of like every person in Winter of the North can go to Winterfell. I think it's a good parallel for sure.
Good call, Kyle.
Cooler part is Theon says like hi to some whores, and he gets all giddy because he
Well, were
sticks
they
his-
whores?
or I guess not.
I don't think
Maybe
they're
just like
whores.
they're just like normal little town peasants, and he just sticks his little prick in them and thinks he's like
She's all
fucking
shy in person,
macho
but in
man.
the sack, she's a
He's about to
slut.
say like something raunchy, and Rob like cuts him off because Bran's there, and then Bran thinks that like Theon's like a little too cocky.
Well, that
but
gives
him and
Theon
Rob
a
have always
boner.
been, like,
He
buddies.
starts smirking about it. He's like, ha ha ha.
He's like, "Ha, I'm so funny."
Yeah.
And then that's when they kind of ride off, Jeff.
Yeah, so they ride off and they start at a little trot. I think Bran's nervous, and then he gets into a fucking gallop, and they're running. Go ahead, Kyle.
Just because I found it here. So, only the crones of Dosh Kalin dwell permanently in the sacred city, them and their slaves and servants, Jorah replied. Yet Vastathrak is large enough to house every man of every Khalazar should all the Kyles return to the mother at once. The crones have prophesied that one day that will come to pass, and so Vastathrak must be ready to embrace all its children.
Suck it! Kyle knows more about
Boom.
Game of Thrones than you, fucking Nelson.
Count it! Kobe!
I was going through to look at my notes, but we were kept moving, so I got away from it. Good call, Kyle.
No,
Kyle
I guess-
reread the chapter.
Yeah, I've been reading the first like 20 chapters over and over again.
You just keep rereading it up to this point.
Anyway, so they're riding through the town, and what were we saying? I'm sorry.
So they're going off on a trot. Him and Bran and Rob separate from the squad, basically. And as they get separated, Bran's like, "Yo, this feels great. It almost feels as good as flying." Like he's like, "Woo!" And then
But this is
what
the
do they
coolest
come to a
part that
stream
I
or
think.
something, right? And they go through a stream.
No, there's some stuff before that, but go ahead, Jeff.
They talk before that. So this is the coolest part, I think. The fight scene's cool, but the biggest difference between book versus TV is Rob and Bran's talk about what's going on south. And I don't know if he mentions too much about what's going on east, I forget, but he says like Jory's dead and you know the horse
Dad's
fell
fucked up.
on
Yeah.
Ned and the leg's broken.
They do talk about Catelyn for sure.
Yeah, but they start off by like talking about the wolves. Like they're like the wolves were restless last night. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Or like did you notice that like Summer was restless? Did you hear him howling?
Well,
and
and they
Rob
said
was
like
yeah, Grey Worm was restless.
they
too.
seem to know more than something like
yeah,
that.
Rob says he's like I think they know things.
Yeah.
I think it's because he then tells Bran about the letter. Like they were restless, and then they get a letter about the attack in King's Landing. And he's like, I wish you were older because I don't know how much I could tell you. But then he tells him about the letter that like Jory was dead and
My favorite part was he's like, "Well, no, fuck you. I'm 8. I'm old as shit." Like,
I'm almost man grown like you. They're both young as shit. Like fucking preteen.
But when as soon as Rob says like, "Oh, we got a letter," Bran thinks like the classic like phrase that they say all the time in this: "Dark wings, dark words."
Well,
And then he
no,
thinks-
real quick correction. Bran doesn't say I'm old as shit. He says I'm next in line in case you die. Like he was like real morbid to his brother there.
Bran knows the
kinda.
line.
I mean, it says 8 isn't so much younger than 15, is what he says.
The younger brother
Yeah.
never forgets the line of fucking succession. Let's get that.
Right, yeah.
But then he thinks about all the bad letters they've been getting lately. The first one I guess they got from the Wall about Benjen not coming back, and then they got then this is where they talk about Cat a little bit. Bran just thinks that they got a letter from the Eyrie, and he thought it was gonna be like, "Oh, I'm coming home," but no, it's I got Tyrion and I took him to the Eyrie. So he's like, every letter we've gotten recently is bad. And then he even thinks that like he knew there was something that he should remember about the Lannisters, but like when he would try and think about it, it would like make his head hurt and he would get dizzy.
Yeah.
2 things, I guess, there. One of them is, I guess there's actually a couple more than that, but Dark Wings, Dark Words. So that's not from the dream. That was a question I had, I guess. That was something old Nan said to him.
That's just like a phrase that people
Okay,
say a
Yeah, I
lot.
think
so
Catelyn
that wasn't
said it
that didn't come
before.
out of the dream. I wasn't sure. I didn't remember, and then I read the old Nan always said, but it still seemed to fit his dream.
I'm sure somebody else has said it before, like already. Like,
Does
Cat
it
or
have
something when a
anything
letter
that means
arrives.
like in the night, or does it just mean like a raven brought it? Or
I think it
It's
just
a
means like
raven.
nobody ever sends like a raven with good news.
Yeah.
Like if you're getting a raven, most likely it's bad. Like it's somebody telling you about bad news.
do you guys ever see? I mean, I've watched every episode multiple times. One Tree Hill is like one of my favorite shows.
No.
I tried to
I
watch
mean, I
it
know
this
what
episode
it is.
one time.
This is relevant, okay? Because their mascots, the Ravens, and like the season 1 finale, like the one of the last lines is like, one solitary raven means like good luck, but multiple ravens means trouble ahead. And like a group of ravens is called an unkindness of ravens. So just a little.
Is it really?
Is that true? Because it's a murder of crows.
I was about to say that. I was like, wait, I'm wrong.
Murder of crows and unkindness of ravens. So just a little fact drop for you.
I mean, that's a novel.
I don't think it is, but
it is.
Unkindness of Ravens.
Ruth Rendell.
Huh. Yeah, no, you're right. It is. But yeah, unkindness of ravens is the collective noun of a group of ravens, and it means trouble ahead. So
unkindness or conspiracy, actually, as well.
There you go.
Conspiracy of ravens. I kind of like that.
Why? That's like so old school. That's like that had to have come from like these times, or what this book is paralleling.
Well, so I read some meme that said a lot of these like random nouns that describe like a group of things like was made in the 14th century BC or not.
Yeah,
BC.
when people were fucking superstitious and afraid of birds.
Yeah, so like murder,
just kind of like trying to hang out. Yeah,
birds did come from dinosaurs, so who knows?
So we talked about the Dark Wings, Dark Words. That was one of them. Another one was oh shit, I lost it. Well, one of them I have actually written down here is my prediction. My prediction, but it's. I think it's pretty obvious, and I know Nelson wants me to include more of these. The viewers want me to include. The listeners want me to include more. So Bran's gonna figure it out eventually, right? Like that's pretty obvious. That's I guess what I gotta say here. It's not like a bold prediction, and it's
what's he gonna figure
out? Oh, the land.
But he's gonna figure out
thing?
what happened with the fall.
Because I said it makes him dizzy and stuff.
Yeah, no, and I have that's literally the first thing I've written down. Because, like I said, I actually took notes this week.
Nice. So one thing I want to point out, and I mean, I don't know what else to say about that prediction unless you have more you want to say.
No, that's it. I think it's gonna come back to him. I think we're gonna see it slowly. It might be by the end of this book.
Why is there any reason it makes him dizzy? Just because?
Well, because it's like deja vu, traumatic event. Yeah, exactly. Like he knows there's something there inside himself, but he can't figure out what it is.
Okay, so actually, in order of this book, so where we're at is before I think he actually gets the Rob tells him the information about Ned, and he's still thinking about the letters he got from everyone else, and he says after they got the letter from Kat. Rob spent the entire day with Lewin, Hallis, and Theon, like in the Lord's Hall, and then after the day was over, riders were sent out, and he heard talk about Moat Cailin, but he wasn't. Bran didn't know what was going on. Do you guys remember what that's about?
Aren't they mobilizing forces? At
it's the calling of the banners, right?
Yeah, so like before, when Kat and Rob were in King's Landing together, or Kat and Ned were in King's Landing together, and Ned 4, Littlefinger's there, they go to the brothel or whatever, and then after Littlefinger leaves, when the door had closed behind him, Ned turned back to his wife. Once you are home, send word to Helman Tallheart and Galbraith Glover under my seal. They are to raise 100 bowmen each and fortify Moat Cailin. 200 determined archers can hold the neck against any army. Instruct Lord Manderley that he is to strengthen and repair all his defenses at White Harbor, and see that they are well manned. And from this day on, I want a careful watch kept over Theon Greyjoy. If there's war, we shall have sore need of his father's fleet. War, the fear was plain on Catelyn's face. So that is what that was the command Ned gave Catelyn. So you assume that's what
she said.
Rob's doing here. Which makes sense because Bran says that he heard talk of Moat Cailin, and Ned's command was send 100 men from the Tallhearts and the Glovers to Moat Cailin.
So it's probably been
defend a couple other places.
It's probably been about a year since we read that, right?
I don't think so. I'm gonna say a couple months.
It's been like 3-4 months.
Yeah,
probably.
I wouldn't go. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, Moat Cailin.
Because that was Ned fought 4.
Is that place shitty? Like the wall is shitty, or is it already
Moat
all
Cailin?
right? I forget.
No, that's just a house.
Okay, but it's not.
Yep.
It's not like destroyed and fallen apart and.
It's the southernmost castle in the north.
Okay.
It's kind of like on the borderlands of the Riverlands in the north. I mean, it's not a great castle. It's kind of in like a swampy area, but it's not like a place where you send criminals.
It's called Moat, so I assume.
Moat.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But okay, no, that's fine. Like this is me kind of using you as a historical reference in what we know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a spoiler. It's basically just like a castle that's in like a really big a swampy area, and the King's Road rides through it, and like you either have to go take your whole army through a swamp, kind of like we're
or
talking
you
about the
go by
Vale.
the sea.
I guess
Or
I was
you go
just saying that I couldn't remember if it was in like severe disrepair or if it was.
No. Yep.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So yeah, then that's when they talk about the letter, and he says that they got the letter from Alan. Jory, Will, and Heward were dead. They killed by Jamie, and he says that a horse fell on Ned, and they're like are not sure if Ned's gonna like wake up. All they heard was that he was given milk with a pop, and he fell asleep, and they're not sure if or when he's gonna wake up.
Which is weird because yeah, I just don't remember anybody else getting the milk of the poppy and them not knowing when the person's gonna wake up. Like I feel like that's like, okay, take this milk of the poppy, you'll go to sleep tonight, we'll see you in the morning type of deal. And he's like in a induced coma from it.
I don't know if it's an induced coma. I think he's just fucking really hurt. Like his leg is shattered.
No, yeah, I get that, but when has it ever been like, oh, we don't know if he's gonna wake up type of thing? I don't know.
I guess it's just like they could maybe it's like they just keep like he wakes up and he's still like in excruciating pain. So
he's gonna be in excruciating pain. But they didn't give Bran milk of the poppy. He was just
Bran was just like
out.
He was like
I thought they
gave
him milk of the poppy.
Maybe in the beginning, but they're just giving him honey water or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, like they didn't have to induce a coma there. That was just like a coma. Yeah, I don't know. But they seem to think that like Ned, like he might not wake up.
Well, even Theon says that if your father dies.
Yeah, exactly.
Robb will be Lord, and then Bran.
And Robb says to Bran before that, he says like, no matter what happens, like I won't forget like the wrongs that have been done to us or whatever. And that's when they talk about calling the banners, and yeah, this is when Theon says, because Bran says only the Lord can call the banners, and Theon's like, well, if your dad dies, Robb will be the Lord.
I had something here as well. We kind of crossed over it, I think, because with Benjen, didn't we? Isn't that in here somewhere?
Yeah, they mentioned that Jon will come back to
the bird that
like
came
Benjen
back brought
did.
word that Uncle Benjen was still missing. So that was one of them. So I guess what I was gonna say, and I don't really know the best way to put this, but like I have it written down here, and it's kind of dumb how I wrote it now that I read it again. But like, is Ben like? And you don't have to answer this. I guess this is kind of more of my predictions or whatever, my musings. But like, would he really like create the character of Benjen Stark? For like, because we only saw him like once, right? To kill that
once
fast?
Or twice. I think
like,
twice.
So I guess it kind of presents two options here, and my personal, I guess, opinion is that he's alive somewhere and he's with the wildlings, because I feel like we need to know more about them, and I guess that's kind of from a note from after I was done with this chapter about the couple of them are wildlings, right? The people that attack them. I'm getting way ahead as well, but so that kind of like proves their existence and proves they're around and whatnot. So I think he's alive on the other side of the wall, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But if not, it wouldn't really surprise me all that much, and it would kind of increase the level of uncertainty from all these characters we meet as to how long they live, for me personally.
So the one thing I would say about why put a character in, the motivation of him being lost could drive other characters.
Yeah, and I get
There's
that.
already been ranges that go.
But I mean, he could have just been lost.
Correct, but like I'm saying, if
they could have said he was out there and we're going to look for him.
That's what they did. That's where we're at right now in the story.
But he was like alive and well in one of the chapters. Like, why do that if he's just going to be lost? And I'm just saying.
Oh, you're saying you could start the book off with him?
Yeah, he could just be lost. Like that.
Well, at the same time, he was Jon's liaison almost to getting to the north, or getting to the wall.
True. I guess he did serve some purpose.
I mean, he tried to stop him, but at the same time, he's like, yeah, you can come.
There's nothing to talk me into or out of here. I think he could be dead.
Benjen because of like the whole honor type of deal of going to the north. Like, there's a High Lord who went to the north. It's just like a little bit of the difference between all the rapists that are there now. But like, it's still like, look, this dude went.
He didn't need to be alive for that to happen, or he didn't need to be there. I guess
it just makes it a little bit more personal if you know the person. If it's just a name, you forget about him. But like Benjen, like he's still being brought up, and you miss him. And
Well, I think to Glow's
Fair
point,
enough.
John is probably way more likely to go to the wall if like, oh, my uncle is like a really high-ranking officer here. Like, I'm probably not going to have it that bad if I go there.
Yeah.
Whereas
It
if
didn't
John
seem
doesn't
like
have
how
a relative
John
at the wall,
acts so far to
you're
me.
right.
To me,
It didn't seem like that, but that makes sense too.
yeah. So
But I get
like
your
said,
original point that it's kind of a
arguing with me over this because I could see both of these scenarios happening. Like I don't think I'm just leaning more towards him being alive because I kind of hope that's how it is because I would like to know what he was doing out there.
Yeah, and to your point, there's other ways to make those things happen. There's other ways to get people ranging north and to get John to the wall, right? You don't.
So
need
that's it. I guess one way it's more interesting. The other way it proves nobody's safe or bulletproof or has plot armor. Is really what I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, you learn that pretty quick in these
books. Yeah, and that's I guess this is my first real experience possibly with it. I mean, I guess Jory, but
yeah, I see what you're saying. All right, well, let's get to the part with the wildling. So Bran asks like, okay, I've had enough. Like after the bad news, Bran's like, I've had enough. Let's go back. And Rob's like, we still got to go find the wolves. Like, can you go a little bit while longer? And Bran's like, I can go as long as you can go.
Just being tough. Just being a tough boy.
Let's go hunt the hunters.
His ass is probably all blistered up. He has no idea.
Yeah,
can't feel his legs.
He said Lewin didn't want him to get saddle sores, but he's like, I can't feel him anyway. So this is where they take off the road. Like before, I guess him and Bran just like Rob and Bran just took off ahead down the road, but now they're like off into the woods trying to go find Summer. And they come across a stream, and Bran starts to cry because it was a stream that Jory had taken them all, before to go fishing.
I was gonna say fishing, right?
And he didn't catch anything, but John did. And on the way back, John gives him his like the fish that John caught. And Bran's just sad that it was like a fun memory, and Jory was the one that took him there, and Jory's dead now.
So they're across the little stream at this point, right?
This is when they first get there, and Bran asks, like, are we ever going to see John again? And that's kind of when he mentions Benjen. He's like, Benjen came and visited. John will come and visit at some point.
I don't think Bran ever makes it across.
Yeah, Rob goes and brings his horse across, and then as soon as he does, Rob goes off on his own to find the wolves.
Just barely across, then I guess.
Yeah, he's just chilling right at the on the other side. So yeah, they cross the river. Like Rob walks his horse across and comes back, takes Bran across, and he's like, I'm gonna go off myself. I'll be faster that way. He's like, Bran, you wait here. I'll be right back, and the guard will be here any second. And he hears something like after a minute or so, he hears something behind him and turns around thinking like Lewin's gonna be there, but it's these like ragged guys.
5 of them.
6
of them.
4 guys and 2 women.
One woman's tall, and they're all fucking ugly.
Black fur. Short.
I only said one's tall. I didn't say both were tall. Both ugly.
You said one's tall, and I said one's short.
One's long, one's fat, one's skinny.
Red fish, blue fish.
So how's it go? How's this encounter go?
Well, what side are you looking at? Because it goes pretty well, I guess, overall for the Starks.
In a sense.
Not so well for the
so, I mean, basically, Bran looks at him, he's like, good day to you. And he's like a little nervous, and the guy is like, oh, you're alone, aren't you?
You got nice things.
Why are you lost by yourself in the woods? And he's like, dude, I'm not lost. My brother's just right over the hill yonder, dog. And the guy's like, well, hey, man, that's a nice silver pin you got on you. It's going to suck when I take it off your dead body. And he's
You're not going to kill me. I'm Brandon Stark of Winterfell.
Get off your fucking horse, he says, or something like that. And Bran's like, dude, I can't. I'm fucking paralyzed.
Wait, like, my legs don't work.
So Bran notices that 2 of them are wearing black cloaks, like worn black cloaks. And he remembers what Ned told him.
And there's nothing worse than a deserter because there's no worse crime. Their lives are already gone.
All right, keep going.
They got no fear. And then, so as the one dude's like, dude, get the fuck off the horse, one of the women pipes up and is like, yeah, I don't think he can, dude. He looks a little strapped in there. And the dude's like,
the straps.
You might be right.
Cut the fucking straps off then.
Slices the strap, cuts up Bran. Bran's like, I don't feel that. And starts gushing blood all over the place. Oh, darn, blood.
So this tall wildling girl who they end up keeping, she makes a proposition about Bran when they find out who he is.
Let's take her back to Mans Raider.
Yeah,
Osha, the tall one?
Osha's the tall one, yeah. And then, so what's their response, Kyle? Do you remember what the other wildlings say to that?
Fuck.
Or at least one of the other ones?
Fuck Mance Rayder.
Yeah. Like, we got out of there, right? Like, the
one says, like, White Walkers.
That's what I was going to say. So I have written down here, first off, I had wildlings this far south with a question mark, because this is kind of news to me. But then they're also talking about White Walkers. Yeah, so, like, what's a White Walker going to give a shit about a Stark?
So, yeah, these guys seem to believe in the White Walkers. And what was the other thing? Oh, wildlings this far south. You had.
So that's news to me, I guess. Like, I didn't realize that they were south of the wall.
So how'd they get south?
So, I mean, we're kind of skipping around, obviously, through this because they said something like, we didn't have anything to do with that. They kind of picked us up, it sounded like.
What do you mean?
The Night's Watch picked them up. The guys that deserted the Night's Watch kind of just sucked them into their group. It sounded like. So I don't know how they got this far the wall, unless I don't remember learning that why they're this far south.
They don't. Yeah, I don't think they really give us a reason, but I think just them mentioning the Whites is like, fuck that. We're not going back there. Like the Whites will get us. Like
they're like, Whites don't give a fuck about hostages.
Yeah, they don't care who he is. They're just gonna kill everybody. Yeah, they don't give a shit.
So I think they're just trying to get as far away from the Whites as they can. Like that's the mindset.
Yeah. That seems like what these guys' motivation is, at least, and get some money on the way if they can.
So, another note, and this kind of fits into the whole thing, but I have here is this is more people deserting the wall, and they're even working with people that they're trying to keep out, so it kind of amplifies, just how shitty the Night's Watch is in its current condition in terms of like, manpower.
Well, it's as shitty and as scary that the White Walkers are, that they're teaming up with their enemy to fucking bail out.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
Because the last deserter, the deserter we had at the beginning of the book, why did he desert?
Because he ran into him, right? Wasn't he the guy in the tree?
Yeah, he was on the tree. He was there, and he, like, I guess assumed that no one would believe him, so he's like, fuck it, I gotta dip, I'm not chilling here.
Well, yeah,
or even if he did think they would believe him, he's still stuck at the wall in the first line of defense against them motherfuckers.
Then, so from there, after Bran gets cut, do they tear him off the horse, or is he on the ground?
No, not yet. That's when Rob shows up.
Rob shows off? Okay.
After Bran notices, like, that they're wearing the black clothes.
The best part about Rob showing up is him screaming Winterfell before going to attack.
Yeah.
Like, the
best part about Rob showing up is he's like, if you put down your weapons, I'll kill you quickly or something like that. And they're like, dude, what are you talking about? It's 6 against 1 right now. Like, this kid's crippled, can't fight. And then Rob just whistles, and then the wolves come out of the fucking bushes.
It's pretty fucking badass. It's pretty badass.
That's cool.
Him yelling Winterfell.
But then he screams Winterfell like it's 100 on 100 fucking
Winterfell!
battle. I mean, he is undermanned. I'll give him that, and they've got weapons. But it's just funny that he yelled Winterfell.
This kind of goes back to Tyrion and that.
Yeah, same thing with Tyrion.
Right? Yeah.
Lannister, Casterly Rock.
Yeah, so Rob whistles. They come out, and then he charges. He slashes one dude in the face. Some dude grabs his reins. Grey Wind chases that dude down into a stream, and like the water just turns red.
And they just like go underwater too. Like Grey Wind's underwater eating this dude at like his throat for
well, they like kind of play it like, oh, we don't know what's happening, who's gonna live, but
and then the water's red.
Yeah, but I mean, no, they're like, is it Grey Wind that's getting fucked up, or is it the guy?
So.
But
I didn't think that first.
I didn't. Yeah,
I think
maybe the first time I read it, but
fucking him up.
This time I'm like, no, not a shot. So then Rob is fighting Osha in the stream for a little bit.
I guess you're right. Yeah, it didn't really.
Summer kills the small woman, like bites her in the calf, and then like dodges a knife stab, and then just like goes at her guts.
Somebody else,
and then Grey Wind eats
her
guy
guts for the rest of the chapter.
For the rest of the chapter.
Grey
Grey Wind chases down some dude who tried to run, and then the last person who was left was the dude who had like pulled.
He
Bran
grabs
off the
Bran
horse.
off the.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
He's got Bran with a knife to his throat, and
yeah, so he tells Rob like, "Drop your weapon." So.
I
don't know if Rob drops his weapon. He lowers his arms and gets off his horse eventually.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever drops his weapon because even Bran's like, don't do it. He's gonna kill us both either way. Like it's
Well,
not...
does he say that or just think it?
I think Bran thinks that. He
at
says
first
don't
Summer's
do
going
it, and
towards-
then Bran's like, they're just gonna kill us either way.
So Rob stops fighting, whatever happens. Rob stops fighting because the guy has Bran, but Summer's still going towards Osha.
Okay, yeah, it didn't get there
And
quite in time. Yeah.
that guy's like, call the dogs off, and then Rob calls him off, and then he's like, he tells Osha to kill the wolves, and she's like, dude, you fucking kill the wolves. Do you see these things? Then he tells Rob,
that one's eating guts, like over there, dude.
Then he tells Rob to kill the wolves, and that's when Bran thinks like, if he does it, he kills the wolves, and this guy just kills us.
Okay.
And then he just gets that. Then he like shoves that Bran down even further, pulls his head back, and then
Cuts him a little, right?
Foop.
Yeah,
he was
like a
nervous.
little
He
bit
was
of blood.
shaking. He was shaking, and the knife like kind of cut his neck a little bit.
So my final note is Theon is fast and loose with it. It was just me writing stuff so that I knew what to say, but the note itself wasn't that great. No, but he is fast and loose with it. He well, like it kind of built the whole way through the chapter here, because when he like trying to push for a fight with everybody.
Well, he said call the banners.
Yeah, he's like pretty much like, let's go kill everybody and fuck all this stuff up, and then here he comes in and he just shoots this dude that has Bran hostage, like point blank.
And at first he's all like proud of it and like smiling, but then Rob is like, dude, so much stuff could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Even if you hit the guy, he could have slipped and cut Bran. If you missed, you could have hit Bran. If he was wearing armor, your arrow just would have bounced off at that range. Like, so many things could have gone wrong, and then that's like Theon kind of like
put him in his place a little bit, but I don't
realizes
it's like the first time he doesn't have a smile on his face.
I don't think it's going to
like
change him though.
He's just like kind of like a cocky guy. Like, I think he means well, right? He just saved Bran's life, but he kind of like you're saying, he just like shoots from the hip. He doesn't think about what he does. He just kind of does it. I just do things. Theon doesn't really seem like a guy with a plan.
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
I feel like we've done this already.
Everything burns.
Rob gets mad at Theon gets mad at the guards for being late. And why are they late?
Because Theon wanted to hunt or something.
No, because they first they tried to blame it on Lewin's ass. We had to wait for Lewin, and then
the way he worded that was funny. We had to wait for Lewin and his ass, and then Theon's like, yeah, and I stopped because of a turkey. And then Rob like didn't say anything, but he like knew Theon like felt bad.
To be fair though, we did know he was going out there to hunt.
Yeah, he says he was bringing a bow on purpose.
That was like the whole point.
Not
He was
really.
getting a deer. He was getting a deer.
How could you think that fucking wildlings would pop?
Oh,
out
and when Rob shows up with like for the fight, he has a friggin' elk on the back of his horse, right?
Well, because the direwolves got it.
Because the direwolves got it.
Yeah. They're like, thanks for the venison.
Yeah.
Maester Lewin pops up, right? But nothing else really happens. Like everybody.
Yeah, so then they just
No.
somebody asks like, should we bury them?
Yeah.
And Rob's like,
uh,
no,
There's
just
somebody
cut off
still
their
alive
heads
too.
and send them to the wall. And then he's
Osha,
like, what are we gonna
yeah.
do with her? And Lewin's like, we can question her. And Rob is like, Bran says it seems like Rob's glad at that, like it kind of gave him an out, so he doesn't have to kill this woman. That's what I got out of it. It seemed like Rob like was gonna have to kill this person, and Lewin kind of gave him an excuse not to by saying we can bring her back.
I didn't think
he already killed one. I think he has no problem swinging the sword right now. Or he killed
Is he
two.
excited about getting news about Benjen?
Stop stealing my notes. So that was gonna be my prediction. Is that I agree with keeping her alive because my prediction is that she gives some intel on Benjen's whereabouts.
Ooh. Alright.
But this kind of ties into the Theon is fast and loose as well with he wanted to kill her. That's right.
Yeah, he's just a fucking asshole.
That was
he wants to
another
go
part
to
of
war
this.
fast and loose. He
doesn't
likes
seem
fast
to
and loose
think of
women.
The consequences, I guess.
Long term, I guess.
The future. Yeah. So that was just kind of my take on it.
How do you feel about Theon right now? You've met a couple times.
I think he might make a mistake in the future that has some major impacts.
So you're talking about Theon a lot, and I'm just going to bring it up because I read it earlier, is the part of the quote where Ned is telling...
Wait, we didn't read a fucking quote the entire chapter.
We're past that part.
This is our first episode that nobody read a quote.
I read a quote, but I read a quote from Ned 4, the one about that where he gives Catelyn the orders. And that's what I want to reference, because in that, when he tells send these people here, he says, and see that we are and
Theon.
from this day on, I want a careful watch kept over Theon Greyjoy.
Yeah.
If there is war, we will have sore need of his father's fleet.
So I don't think they like him that much. I think he's just kind of useful.
He's definitely been a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
I think they've learned to like him, but it's also like, hey, we need this guy.
I agree with that. I don't think they hate him being around. He's not a Lannister, but
yeah, but he is kind of like a glorified hostage. So you think he would be more open-handed with hostages? Right, when they're like, "What should we do with this person?" And he's just like, "Kill him." Like,
is he a glorified hostage? What do you mean by that?
He's a ward. He was a war ward. So his dad lost the ward, and we're like, "We're gonna take your son, so you don't attack us again. If you do attack us, your son's
I didn't realize
dead."
that. I guess.
Yeah.
But okay.
They mentioned that in one of the earlier Ned chapters that they got Theon after the Greyjoy rebellion.
Okay, no, that's fair. I just don't remember.
Yeah. So
I don't. Please, I didn't realize that until like the third rewatch that I had, or I was like, "Who the fuck's this brother? Why didn't he get a dog?" And like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but you just think, I don't know, it's just kind of weird that he's the guy saying, "Let's kill the hostage," when he is kind of
he's
a
a hostage.
He's fast and loose with it. Great person once said he's fast and loose with it.
So that's all I have for this chapter. Next chapter is Tyrion. Kyle, do you have any predictions you want to make for Tyrion, considering where we're at with him?
So they're at the Eyrie, right? And they had to go all the way to the top.
Tyrion didn't. Kat did, though. Yeah. Think we're gonna get another 6 pages of climbing the mountain?
No, I think we're gonna get after they come down.
We're not gonna see him up there at all.
No.
Is he even going up there?
No, just because I know the way these chapters go here, it's always 10 days after you want it to be. So it's going to be he's going to be down, and he's going to be they're going to be on horses on the way to Winterfell.
Huh.
Oh, on the way to Winterfell. Okay.
And I'm sure that's probably wrong, and I made it on purpose.
Interessante.
We'll find out next. We'll find out next week on the Morning Throne.
I mean, I guess what I hope would happen is he's up there and they have a discussion with what's her name, crazy sister,
Lysa
and Robert.
What?
Lysa and Little Robert.
Lysa and Little Robert. Yeah, what was the deal with him? It's been a while. I forget.
Robert wants to make people
still
fly.
Sucking on her tit, right? Yeah.
He wants to suck titty juice and make people fly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so he's obviously not going to go over the edge because I know Peter Dinklage was around for longer than half a season. But it might come close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we're about episode 7.
I think he might have to.
He's
going to have to talk his way out of a tricky situation on the edge. How's this? How's that for an actual prediction?
I like it.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll find out next time. And Tyrion 4, 5.
Who cares? Tyrion
4, I think maybe. I don't know.
Chapter. Tyrion 5.
Tyrion
right,
V.
See everyone next time.
All right.
See you later,
Bye,
Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
Later.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Kyle. It's great hanging out, bud. We'll see you on the next episode. And now on to the spoiler section of Bran 5. Guys, what are your hot takes on here?
So I actually didn't write anything down when I was reading. Nothing really stood out to me. I kind of had
nothing stood out to me either until we started talking about it.
Yeah, now that we're talking about it, I have 1 or 2 things. So one is, when they talk about the others not caring about hostages, it's interesting because I'm thinking the show now. What was the others' motivation in the show? Not that we really found out much about it, but they came down looking for one thing.
Bran.
Yeah, so the others came down and Bran was the only thing they wanted. Right? Sam has that weird speech where he's like, "You're the memory of Westeros, blah 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 blah." So out of any hostages ever, yeah, the Wildlings probably wouldn't care about any hostages except maybe Bran. If it goes
No,
the
they
same
wanted
way
to
as the
kill him
show.
either way.
I guess that's true. But do we know that? We don't know that. Arya killed him before.
Yeah, well, fucking Dave and Dan.
Arya killed him before we found out what he wanted. Maybe he just wanted to talk.
Dave and Dan didn't have enough info from George, so they couldn't figure it out.
Yeah,
so the first thing that struck my mind was the wolves being restless in the night.
Yeah, so they were restless. The other time we hear about this is when Bran was hurt, right? They were like restless. They would like bark all the time when he was in his coma.
I feel like Rob here is like figuring out that they're special and is like, yo, these things are fucking crazy. I think he has a dabble of the warg as well.
Well, like,
and I think that's another reason why he says, "I wish you were older, so he could discuss it a little bit better with him."
Yeah,
like,
well, also
you're 8, you don't really understand it.
Doesn't Ned say something similar about them when Cat comes down and tells him like, "Oh, Summer saved Bran"? He's like, "Oh, I should never have killed Lady. There's something special about these wolves." And now Rob's like, "I think they know more than they like let on," or something like that. Yeah, I think they're starting to realize they left out with these wolves. Sucks that Sansa and Arya don't have King's Landing. Think about what a wolf like this would be like King's Landing.
Oh yeah, dude.
Crazy.
Dead, yeah. Well, one of them's dead. One of them's just out chilling.
It would bite fucking Littlefinger right away.
Another thing that quick just kind of like perked my ears up was when Bran said it. The riding the horse was almost like flying.
So that was one of my notes too. It seems like he has a better memory of that flying dream than he let on, or did he have another experience with flying? Because I feel like that flying sensation was months ago. Why is he just like randomly bringing it up now? And
it's also interesting, like when he's running, and they like it's weird. I don't know if it's meant to be this at all, but he says something like he's like picking out all like the individual smells, and it kind of reminds me of later when we get like from a Summer point of view. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did get that same thing. It was like he could pinpoint every smell. Like the rotting leaves or something. I forget what he said, but he picked out a bunch of different smells. It's like, how the fuck is this 8-year-old smelling all this different shit?
Yeah, it's when they go off the King's Road into the Wolfswood. Bran kept Dancer to a walk, holding the reins lightly and looking all around him as they went. He knew this wood, but he had been so long confined to Winterfell that he felt as though he were seeing it for the first time. The smells filled his nostrils, the sharp, fresh tang of the pine needles, the earthy odor of the wet, rotting leaves, the hints of animal musk and distant cooking fires. He caught a glimpse of the black squirrel moving through the snow-covered branches of an oak, and paused to study the silvery web of an empress spider. So yeah, he's like smelling animal musk and distant cooking fires. Like, is that a little bit of a Summer connection there, or is?
I think that's a Summer connection.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It just like I guess how fast it rolls into him just then seeing a squirrel in a spider web, which are totally normal things for like a person walking or riding on a horse. That I kind of like didn't think too much of it, but I don't know. Anything else?
Yeah. So let's start with the heavy one that Nelson might go off on. With the Maesters and how they control everything, and they plan everything ahead. So Maester Lewin, first of all, rides a fucking donkey, so he's going to be slow. He slows everyone else up, so Bran and Robb are both by themselves, basically making it so that they have to fight these wildlings. Do the Maesters know somehow that these wildlings are coming? They want one of them to interact with Bran and Robb, so basically Osha future escorts them to the north almost.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that because normally when they have like Maester conspiracies, it's that they're anti-Targaryens and anti-dragons. Like the big one is that the Maester who was Maester at Winterfell before Lewin, later in book 4 or 5, Lady Dustin starts telling like Theon, like she's like asking Theon to show where the crypts are when he's like Reek in Winterfell, and she's talking about how she used to be in love with Brandon Stark, Ned's brother. But the Maester, all the Maesters, the Maester at the Eyrie, the Maester in Riverrun, and the Maester in Winterfell had like worked together to set up marriage alliances. They said they set up marriage alliances with every house in the kingdom. Like originally, I think it was supposed to be every house because Jaime was supposed to marry Lysa, Cat was gonna marry Brandon or something like that. So they were like, it was going to be like all the houses, Lannisters, Starks, Tullys, like everyone was going to be in this giant marriage pact because of
They never really talk about who Hoster was gonna, or not Hoster. What the fuck's the brother?
Edmure.
Like who was he? I guess he was younger than those two, right?
Yeah, but like the Maester conspiracy is that the Maesters were setting up this giant marriage alliance with all the houses except for the Targaryens, and like kind of stoking the fire for Robert's rebellion, so that when it happened, it was kind of all the families versus the Targaryens, which is pretty much what happened. And that also goes off the fact that like the Maesters kind of didn't want dragons before, and a lot of people think the Maesters were behind pitting Targaryen versus Targaryen instead of the Dance of the Dragons, which is basically what killed off
just so
all
that
the
they
dragons.
Kill each other.
And part of that goes to, I think in book 5 when they show up to the Citadel, someone says something about Maester Aemon being sent up to the wall to waste away because they just put Targaryens there. Like that's where they put the Maester, even the Maesters who are Targaryens, just because they want them as far away from everything as possible. So I don't know what it has to do with Bran going north, which is why I don't know if he would know about it.
That's true. I forgot that the Maesters were anti-Targs.
So, I mean, maybe, but I'm not sure. And like Lewin always kind of preaches that like, oh, all this magic used to exist, but it doesn't anymore. But it's weird because he does say he was one of the Maesters who studied like the magics, right? But he's like one of the guys who's always preaching like, oh, it's gone from the world, it's gone from the world. So it makes you think like he probably tried to light a glass candle, right? Like that's what most of the or do they say all the Maesters have to try and light a glass candle? Just to prove that there are some mysteries that no one can ever know. So maybe that's why he lost his faith, but I don't know, besides more of that, like why Lewin would have any motivations here, secret motivations.
Small thing, little foreshadowing for a Wildling and Brothers of the Night Watch team up.
Why?
With this little crew here.
Yeah, because some of the crew is Night's Watch, some are just straight up Wildlings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are they so close to Winterfell? Like, doesn't somebody ask that, and then Maester Lewin says like something about they're just desperate? Like, how does being desperate make you walk close to Winterfell? All right, if you're a deserter, wouldn't you steer clear of the biggest city in the north?
Resources there though. I mean, maybe they're thinking they can just like steal something quick or
run into some little lord with a bunch of shit
from like Wintertown or something.
Yeah. And then my last thing is, did we ever hear the names of some of the guys that got lost on their rangings? Are these two Night Watchmen guys that got lost on the rangings?
I don't know.
Met up with Wildlings and fucking headed south once like that group ran into White Walkers or something?
Yeah, so I didn't have these guys' names in my notes. So
one was Stiv, but I don't know if that was a Wildling or a Night Watchman.
I think he was one of the Night's Watchmen because when he's the one who approaches Bran and he realizes that he has a black cloak, and then he's like standing next to Bran the whole fight. So we can keep an eye out for that name, but I think up to this point we definitely haven't heard that there's a Night's Watchman by that name that got lost. But I wouldn't be surprised if George throws it out somewhere later, especially because he's dead now, so it doesn't matter.
Makes sense. I was just curious about that.
Pretty cool. I forget what happens with Bran next in this, like in the book.
When does Winterfell get taken out? I mean, it's still a while. It's got to be like a Bran dream chapter.
Because what happens is Tyrion escapes. So Catelyn would want to be going back to Winterfell.
Do we get a Robb chapter next?
War starts.
But yeah, the war starts before she gets back.
She meets Robb on the warpath.
So war's gonna start pretty soon.
I'm thinking, does Bran have another dream about the storm coming?
I think Ned's gonna get thrown in jail, and Robb's gonna call the banners in the next Bran dream. Is Robb gonna be calling the banners? So it probably won't be for a little while. But because you think about it, the next Tyrion. So that's what I was like. Man, these chapters start moving. The next Tyrion chapter, where do you think it ends?
In the cells.
That's what I would have thought too. It doesn't. It's Bronn saying, "I'll fight for the dwarf." So Tyrion's introduction at the Eyrie, all his time in the cells, and then like the talk about the trial by combat, up into Bronn saying, "I'll fight for him," is all next chapter.
So it's a long chapter.
It's only 12 pages, and then
but that fucking whole cell sequence feels like forever.
That's what I thought, but I guess it's not. And the chapter
I
after
guess
that
it's just
is a 5-page Ned chapter.
Good writing.
But it's a 5-page fever dream of the Tower of Joy. So we're gonna have a long.
That's the next Ned chapter.
That's 2 chapters from now. We have Tyrion, then Tower of Joy sequence with Ned. That's gonna be a long spoiler section, boys.
That's fine with me. I like talking about Tower of Joy. And
who's talking about the Tower of Joy though?
Ned.
Ned
he's
and
like,
who? With
nobody.
Who?
He just has a fever dream of it. Like I'm pretty sure it's the entire chapter.
That's cool. I don't remember that chapter.
It's like the main evidence for most of the stuff about the Tower of Joy in the first book. Why Jon is not the baby.
Why Jon is the baby. Yeah, so that's basically all I have for this, unless you guys have anything.
Yeah.
So that one is the fever dream, and then Robert comes in and tells Ned he's going on a hunt, and Ned's gonna be ruling while he's gone. Then I'm sure we'll have another Ned chapter where Ned sends Beric Dondarrion after the mountain. And then probably next Ned chapter, Robert comes back and dies. Ned gets thrown in the Black.
So why was Beric Dondarrion still in King's Landing?
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out. I don't remember.
And why would Ned send him? Just because Beric came?
Because he was
said,
impartial.
Like, hey, I'll do it for you?
I think he's from like the Reach, and it was like a fight between River Lords and Westermen, so he's kind of impartial. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, things are gonna start heating up. Next Tyrion chapter is gonna be a big confrontation in the Eyrie. What about some of Kyle's predictions? He didn't even think we were gonna get a Tyrion Eyrie scene.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, he had a good point.
No, but he didn't. They spent a lot of time building up him getting there. They're not just gonna leave right away.
What was his predictions for Bran?
We didn't really have one.
I thought his best prediction was his prediction about Theon. Like
being
having a. I mean, it's pretty basic, but like Theon being a cause of something that's gonna fuck something up, and it's.
I remember which one.
It's true.
I remember which one of his predictions I want to talk about. The Benjen one. Because it was funny because when he was saying the like, why would they introduce Benjen and then have him just go missing? He is still missing. We have not seen like. Kyle has seen as much of Benjen as we're gonna see in these 5 books. You know what I mean?
I think he thinks he's dead, right?
Well, like that's why I kind of wanted to be able to have that conversation because it's like, what is the point of introducing Benjen if he's not going to come back? Is he going to come back?
If he's not cold hands.
Is he going to come back for us? Is he cold hands? Like, yeah. Like, what's the point? Because like I wanted to like jump into that conversation, but if we do, we kind of give it away to Kyle that hey, he's not coming back for 5 books because we don't know why he's coming back either.
I mean, we can't. I mean,
he said something else too that I was like, yeah, we really don't know.
I think the greatest part about Kyle right now is like, even when I started reading, I think Nelson might have spoiled it to me. He was like, Catelyn's still going to be Lady Stoneheart and Benjen's cold hands. Somehow when I was not there yet in the book, someone had told me that they were still alive / like partially alive. So,
but we don't know.
Like that kind of sucked because I was like, "Fuck!" I know Catelyn's gonna be back, and she's Lady Stoneheart. Like when we get to the point where Catelyn gets her throat slit, and then Kyle's like, "Oh, there's this other person." And it becomes Catelyn. It's gonna be fucking wild. That's gonna be a crazy moment.
It's gonna be crazy when he finds out Joffrey's a bastard.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't got it. That's crazy.
What was I about to say?
Kyle said something else.
About how Bran figuring out about the Lannisters. Like he still hasn't figured it out, and from what our perspective is,
he hasn't figured it out by book 5. Yeah, exactly. That was one of his other predictions that he's gonna figure out about the Lannisters. And I was like. He's like, it's probably obvious, but I was like, yeah, real obvious that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know what you want me to say here.
All right, I don't have anything else for the spoiler section. You guys?
All right, guys, great episode. We'll see you next time.
It's good getting back in the saddle with you fellas.
Yeah,
what is it, Tyrion 5 next episode?
Tyrion 5.
Tyrion 7.
Tyrion 4.
3?
We already have 4. I think it's Tyrion 5.
Alright, Tyrion 5.
Alright, we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace.
Like us, follow us, share us, comment us, do whatever you gotta do. Make this shit pop.
Thanks for listening.